It's a ham radio.
The Cadillac of ham radios.
Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Ham Radio, a Stranger Things podcast. We've got a great episode for you today as usual, but first, we have a little housekeeping to take care of, and I'm going to turn it over to Jasmin to let you know where you can find us on social media and where you can listen to the podcast.
Thanks, Ashley. You can find us on Instagram at Ham Radio Media, all one word, on Twitter at HamThrow, on YouTube at Ham Radio Media, or using our handle Ham Radio 1983. We also have a Discord you can join, which is linked in the description of this episode. If you have a fan theory or question you want to share, you can email us at hamradiomedia@gmail.com. Ashley also has a fanfic on AO3 entitled Stranger Things College, which is also linked in the description. The podcast is available on all major podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and much more. If you like the show, please consider leaving us a rating or review. We have a lot of totally tubular stuff coming up, so be sure to follow us on social media to keep up with the podcast and all of our new content.
And then we got our first look at Linda Hamilton. Yay! She looks great. As Dr. K. Looks like she's following Alex Bro's character, Lieutenant Akers, into, I guess, where Hopper and 11 are. I think that's safe to say that that's where they are, with the sirens going off. And she's wearing a uniform and is wielding a handgun as they're going in. She's like kind of behind Lieutenant Akers and some other military personnel. And so really, I mean, there's not really much to say about her because there's literally only that one frame of her, but it was good to see her. It was good to get our first look at Linda Hamilton in Stranger Things. But the biggest question I have is, will Dr. K be good or will she be bad?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I know you and I were hoping for a different role from her because she's so well known for Terminator. But I'm excited nonetheless, and I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not she turns out to be good or bad, or more in the middle like Owens is. Kind of hoping they subvert this and have her turn out to be a good guy, or at least a reasonable person, because they've done multiple different villains. You know, we've had Brenner, we've had Sullivan. You know, long time fans will know I was not a fan of that arc. So hopefully it's not something like that. I feel like it won't be, because that was very one-dimensional. And Linda Hamilton, I mean, you don't hire an actor like that to play a one-dimensional character. But we've also had like an interesting amount of nuance with Owens, and they've done the kind of like the mad scientist who's all for the greater good thing with Brenner. So there aren't too many new configurations for villains in this universe, I feel like, with what they've set up, but maybe they'll surprise me. And I think it would be interesting if they do subvert that expectation, have her be good or have it be more ambiguous. So yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of character this is. Does her arc change over the season, you know, the way Owens did, or does it stay consistent? Yeah, I'm curious about that too. Or maybe Lieutenant Akers' character, perhaps that's more of the ambiguous or good character and she's more the foil or the bad guy. I'll definitely be interested to see how that turns out.
Yeah, same here. I still think that 11 needs an ally from the military or government whose name is not Sam Owens, and I'm hoping that Dr. K will be that, or if she starts out bad, I hope by the end of season 5, if she sticks around that long, that she will turn good and will be able to see the light. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, it's still good to see her. Still good to see Linda Hamilton. And then we have a frame of Lucas holding a still unconscious Max. They're hiding from the Demodogs in the hospital, and he is wearing a WSQK radio station t-shirt. So I think it's safe to say that this is probably not the same, like part of the same episodes as some, like a lot of the other frames in this teaser so far. But yeah, but great. You know, we got our second look at Max this season, so that was great. Still hate it that she is still in a coma. I wonder if Vecna has found her at the hospital, or he unleashed these demodogs on the hospital, or maybe that frame of Nancy washing her hands of the blood. Maybe something happened at the hospital earlier and the demodogs detected the blood. But I mean, it seems pretty clear from this frame that they are looking for someone, and I think it's Max. I'm glad that Lucas was able to get her out. It does seem like they're going to break her free from the hospital. I mean, I feel like it's definitely not safe in there anymore for her. So that's going to be very interesting to see that play out as well. Definitely love the Jurassic Park reference in this frame. I'm looking forward to whatever happens in this hospital because I'm loving the callbacks to season 3.
Yeah, it was good to get a shot of Max that wasn't her lying in her hospital bed. And in this scene, you can see somebody next to Lucas with a candy striper uniform on. And a lot of people wonder if that's Vicky because you can see the red hair. And we know that Maya and Amy Beth did film a lot at the hospital. It's possible she's also volunteering there, and they're all, maybe taking turns keeping an eye on Max. And she's unfortunately on duty while, this happens. And it appears that, Lucas has picked her up and is, they're trying to shield her. I think the demodogs are after Max specifically because hospitals are full of blood and people bleeding out and dying all the time. If the demodogs are indeed sensitive to blood, if they are seeking it out when they smell it, I feel like the hospital would be surrounded by like a whole military team because if they figured that out, like obviously they'd be attacking the hospital 24/7. So I feel like there'd be protection set up. Unless this is the first time they've come out. We do appear to be looking for something. This isn't just like a random attack. Definitely think they're after Max here. And it does look like they are going to have to break her out of the hospital and presumably like hook her up to an IV somewhere else. We do see from the previous footage that her limbs have healed. And so she's only connected to an IV. So that will make it easier for them to care for her somewhere else, which is good. I can only imagine the reaction of the deputies when her mom shows up and they're like, "Where is my daughter?" And they're like, "People out here body snatching? Like, they've stolen the mean one's body." I know you and I, we talked about that in an earlier episode. So it's kind of funny that that's the route they wound up going.
Yeah, I mean, they just snatched that IV right out of there.
Yep, it was a snatch and go. But yeah, I think they're definitely after her. I feel like this probably happened maybe towards the end of the 4 episodes. I don't think they're starting with this. And I think the sad part is Max was probably not intended to be in a coma this long because it seems like the original plan was to wrap everything up in like the fall of 1986. Which is why I think they focused so much on the university and college plans of the older teens, is that they were all intending to go off the following semester or whatever. But I think because so much time has passed, the actor's age, they had to bump it ahead a year. And so the unfortunate side effect of that is instead of Max being in a coma for a few months, which would I think made more sense, she's been in a coma for like a year or more at this point, and Lucas has been just at her bedside, missing her. But it does look like they are able to move her, and hopefully once they've defeated Vecna, Max will come back to herself and they will get their happy ending. And about Nancy washing the blood off her hands, I've seen a few different theories about this. At first I thought maybe something had happened to Ted or a loved one and she's washing the blood off. But then I noticed that there's a pink soap dispenser, like the kind you find in a public bathroom next to her. So there's supposed to be like a public place. It could be the hospital, but she's not in her candy striper outfit. So unless she's just clocked off shift, but then we see Nancy in the candy striper outfit in the basement of the radio station in other footage. So maybe she does wear it home, either to or from work or volunteering. So it's possible maybe she had clocked off shift and something happened. They tried to save a patient and they couldn't. Or it's also possible she was in another public place. It's not the hospital and something went down. They couldn't save this person. Poor Nancy, though. We have 2 scenes of her in this teaser where she's just sobbing her eyes out. Like the poor girl is just going through it. And like, that is a lot of blood. Whatever happened to this person was clearly fatal. Some serious stuff is going down. Poor Nancy, man.
Yeah, and just, knowing who Nancy is as a person. I mean, she's one of those who wants to try to like save everyone, and I feel like maybe this could have been a totally random person who she tried to save but wasn't able to. And I mean, looks like she's been through it so far. in this teaser, and maybe this is her breakdown moment of, feeling helpless. And also because, she so far is the only one like Vecna has showed her like the future or anything to. So she's seen visions of the carnage like this happening, and so maybe there's some guilt there of I wasn't able to save this person, and also this really, Vecna really might be successful with what he showed me. And it also could be Ted or someone. I don't know. She is wearing a sweater, not her candy striper outfit. So, it doesn't mean she wasn't visiting someone in the hospital, but yeah, I feel like that also could be a possibility here as well.
Yeah, for sure. She could definitely be visiting. And this is one of the two outfits we see her in a lot. There's an outfit with like a pink sweater, denim jacket we see a bunch. And we also see another one where she's wearing a rainbow sweater vest and a pink jacket. So those seem to be the two core outfits. So I tend to believe that maybe that's earlier on in volume 1 because we see a lot of footage of it, and perhaps these are either from the same episodes, these two outfits, like one episode each, or like 2 episodes back to back where she's wearing the same clothes. But yeah, it could definitely be guilt. I've seen people say online that they feel like there are parallels here with her scene in season 2 where she's crying in the bathroom and her Barb's parents morbidly have decorated it with pictures of Barb, and she's trying to get through dinner. Also the Halloween scene in season 2. She's got a lot of trauma about losing friends, losing people, crying in bathrooms about things that are happening, bad things going down. So I definitely think this is going to be like clearly a very emotional and traumatic season for Nancy. And if it is the death of a character, I think it is a secondary character. I saw stuff going around. People are saying it's Steve. People say it's Jonathan. I don't think it's either of them. I don't think it's a main character. Whoever this is, I think it's either somebody we haven't met before, like you said, or it's a secondary character because we know they filmed for a year. The main cast were spotted here. They've all talked about this in interviews, and these people are so booked and busy that if a main character was absent for several months, somebody would have picked up on it. These people are so busy, they can't just hang around Atlanta for an additional 6 months if they're not filming. They're very busy. And the filming for the season overlapped with other things, which is why some of them were spotted filming other things other places, of course, or doing other things. So there was a moment, I will admit, when I first watched this teaser where they showed her crying in the butt. I was like, oh my God. I did buy into the hype for a minute. I will admit, I was like, oh my God, is it Steve? Is it Jonathan? Who is it? I did buy into it for a minute, but then I rewatched and I thought about it more and I was like, no. Like, they're not killing off a main character here. Somebody would have seen something. So, yeah, I think if this is the death of a character we do know, I think it's going to be a secondary character or someone we've never met before.
And how about Karen and Holly? That was an intense scene of them in the water. I think is the bathtub because you can see like at the top it looks like bubbles. And so I feel like the most obvious thing is that they're hiding from either a Demogorgon or a Demodog. Now, what would lead them to hide in the water? I'm not sure, other than the bathtub was like literally the only place they could find. But yeah, already like just the intense acting from both Cara Buono and Nell Fisher already in this one frame. I'm scared for them. I really am. But I'm loving that we're getting more Karen and actually getting in on the action this season. That's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think they're hiding in the bathtub because we got that previous footage of the Wheeler bathroom with Karen's fluffy pink shoes, and there was behind the scenes of like non-alcoholic bubbly of some kind. So to me, it seems like Karen was preparing for a nice bath here, and then something happened, and we see the shot that Holly's hair is wet. So I don't know, maybe they were hiding in the bathtub. Then that scene comes after. We see Aaron grabbing Holly and trying to protect her in a previous date announcement teaser that we got. So I think that something has come at them. There's a demagogue or a Demogorgon. I think it's definitely a monster of some kind. and Karen has grabbed Holly and they've run upstairs and they're hiding in the bathtub. It could be the only place to hide. It could also be, since we don't see water in the Upside Down by the time we get to season 4, I think it's also possible that the Demogorgons don't and the monsters don't like water. That water does something to them, or they can't cross water, or there could be something to do with water, because I feel like there's got to be more to it, because otherwise, like, grabbing your small child and jumping into a bathtub does not seem like the safest idea, because you don't know how long you're going to be down there for. You could suffocate, you could drown. It leaves you a sitting duck if that thing comes into the bathroom. And Karen's pretty smart, so I feel like maybe there's something to do with water being like a barrier, like being in the water is going to like protect them somehow. They think it is. So, I mean, poor Karen, she was just looking forward to a nice night in with her bubbles and her bubbly. And Holly was clearly just chilling in a room doing whatever. And they're just trying to relax in the midst of the apocalypse, man. They're just trying to have a moment to themselves, and then this happens. And next thing you know, you're hiding in a bathtub.
As you do.
I mean, we've all had to do that, right? We've all had to hide in the bathtub.
Exactly. With it full of water. Yes.
Full of water, no less. As you do, typical Tuesday.
Yeah, as you do after you watch TV, as you do. But no, like, I wonder, I'm starting to put all these pieces of the puzzle together, and I'm starting to connect some of these sequences. And we actually got a production still of this one, but in the behind the scenes teaser from last year, of Holly, she's in her room and then the lights start flickering. And so I wonder if, like, Vecna maybe, is maybe leading her into the bathroom, like something maybe has gone on there, or maybe like a to season 1 in episode 3, Holly Jolly. And maybe Holly's trying to tell Karen and the Demogorgon, I guess one of them, at least Holly manages to, escape from that. And then, she comes into the kitchen and her hair's wet, like, after the bathroom. And also in the date announcement teaser, Karen's hair was wet in that as well. So I wonder if they were able to get out of the bathtub and then, something happened. But yeah, I'm starting to connect the dots here that these are kind of related. I actually, just speaking of Holly, like in general, she's growing on me. She really is. At first, I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it being an obvious recast, but I mean, so far, just from this teaser and the production stills, I really am looking forward to following Holly and her journey this season.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it as well. And I honestly didn't mind the recast when that was announced. Like, these things happen. They've had to jump a year and a half into the future, which was not clearly the original plan. So changes had to be made. I was a bit more concerned about bringing in all these new characters. What about our originals? Like, that was a huge problem in season 4. Like, I love season 4, but there were definitely points where it's like I felt like they focused more on the new characters when they should have been focusing on their originals. But yeah, I'm excited for Holly's journey. And we got a production still of this scene where she's clutching her necklace for like comfort, and she seems to be looking up at something. She's in her bedroom, which is presumably part of the scene where the lights start flickering. And now that you've said that, like, putting the pieces together, I wonder if this is part of the same sequence at the beginning with the controlled burn. Like, the lights start flickering all over town, and, the Demogorgons, Demodogs, like, come out, and, they're, like, lunging at people. Like, I mean, for all we know, this could also be part of the same sequence where they got to get Max out of the hospital, although I feel like that might come later. This thing happens with the control burn, the lights are flickering, Will collapses, these things come at Karen and Holly, the lights are flickering in the bunker. Like, this could all be part of the same, like, nerve-wracking sequence where, oh no, the lights are flickering, and then stuff happens, like, boom, 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 boom. Like, this could all be part of the same sequence. And we know the vanishing of blank is second episode. So, I mean, this could all be going down in the second episode for all we know. That this is Holly's vanishing and she gets taken. And if that's happened in episode 2, then the scene with Max could be episode 3. because now the Demogorgons and Demodogs are like roaming free around the town. And that could kind of set off the sequence of events from there. And it's all giving me the vibe that our heroes planned for whatever was going to happen, and then whatever Vecna does takes them by surprise. They look terrified, and they would have prepared for every possibility they could possibly think of, knowing what they know after this many years. So I think that's the scary thing here, is that they have clearly been communicating and they have prepared themselves as much as they can, and whatever Vecna's doing clearly takes them by surprise in a way they did not expect, despite what looks like a year or more of planning here. So I think that's the scary thing.
Yeah, I love how you put that too, because I never crossed my mind. But yeah, I feel like you could be onto something there, like this whole chain of events, perhaps the frame of Nancy and 11 that's in this teaser, because someone pointed out on Reddit that it looks like they are in the Wheeler home, and they're wearing the same clothes as they were in the frame in the radio station earlier on in the teaser. And like Nancy's hairdo is same style. She's wearing the same jacket. 11 is wearing the same blue hoodie, but she's got it over her head probably to conceal her identity. And so hearing you say all that made me think, wouldn't it be so cool if all these are part of that same sequence? Vecna like was able to like come over their microphone in the radio station and broadcast to them, "I have Holly," or something like that, and that forces Nancy and 11 to come to the Wheeler home. Nancy's wielding her shotgun, so it seems like obviously they came there in an emergency style way, so maybe it could all be a part of the same sequence in the same episode. And that, if that's the case, I mean, that would be absolutely wild.
Yeah, and you know what just occurred to me? If Vecna's going to project something, I don't think he'd say that. I think he'd do what he did with Will in season 1, where Will's voice comes over the radio. I think he'd probably just project Holly and Karen's voices over the radio so the rest of them could figure out that they were in danger. And I feel like that would explain why Nancy comes with the shotgun, 11 comes in, they're charging in, and 11 looks surprised in that scene. So whatever's there is surprising to them. And I wonder if they get there in enough time to like fend off whatever's coming at Karen. Like they manage to save Karen in time, but it grabs Holly, or Holly disappears. And so they manage to shoot it in time to get Karen to safety, but not Holly. And so like a big part of the rest of the season is trying to get her back, and it looks like Erica could get taken. So again, they're on high alert for this stuff. So whatever Vecna's doing, he must be changing up their tactics, because Erica can see this stuff coming. She's not stupid. So if she's part of that, he must be radically changing his tactics in ways that they can't anticipate to get to them, because they know all his old tricks. So he must be just changing it up on them all the time. That's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise they'd be prepared for this. So like this could all be part of the same sequence in episode 2, which if that's what this is, that is so wild. That is like, oof, like they said it was going to be like pedal to the metal, and that is 0 to 180 charging down the road if that's what this is.
Yeah, because usually when that kind of stuff happens, it's usually by the end of the episode 3. Usually episodes 1 and 2 are mostly like just set up. So yeah, I mean that would, and also I'm glad we got those on the record, because if that turns out to be the case, I mean we could say like, well, we knew it was going to happen, folks. That's why you should listen to our podcast.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks.
And then another scene we absolutely have to talk about is Steve driving his car through the rift at the barn they've been showing. I mean, it seems like this scene is either very important this season, or it's something that the Duffer Brothers have just been really excited about, because we've probably seen more things from this one scene more than really anything else. They've got like previs on it, and then a lot of behind the scenes content on it. And so now we're actually seeing like part of what is actually going on here. And I mean, definitely big Back to the Future DeLorean type thing going on here. But I mean, whatever it is, either they're being chased by something, or Steve's just like, screw it, we have to get through there. Or maybe they've had a couple attempts to drive through the rift like slowly, but it's not letting them. And so Steve's just like, you know what? I'm just going to floor it, and because we have to get through there. But I mean, I feel like considering that they're in the car, maybe they were being chased by something and had no choice. But I'm very excited to see like what the rest of this scene looks like because it's been hyped up so much.
Yeah, I really hope it lives up to the expectations because you're right. We've seen more of this scene from previs to behind the scenes to teaser stuff than we have any other scene. And I think this is all part of the same sequence because in the previs, I was given the impression that they'd fallen through the upside down in the car that was not intentional. But in this sequence, it looks like they are intentionally driving in. If you slow it down, you can see that the car goes through a fence in someone's backyard. And then as they go through the rift, it shears off the side mirror and he puts it into drive, just floors it as they're going down. And this is part of that same sequence where like, you see Jonathan and Nancy screaming in the back seat, Dustin screaming in the front seat. And I think this is also part of the same sequence where you can see the four of them standing outside the lab in the upside down, where Nancy's got her gun with her and they're standing in front of it. We've seen this shot from the front, from behind. And I think that explains why they don't have facial coverings on, because we see Eleven put on her bandana in an earlier scene. And I was wondering why don't they have facial coverings? They established that the atmosphere down there is toxic in seasons, 1 and 2. And Steve comments on that in season 4. And you and I have gone back and forth. Are they retconning this? Whatever. And while it seems like they forgot to give them the facial coverings in when they go back into the upside down in season 4, I feel like maybe they've corrected this now. They realize like, oh shoot, they were supposed to have facial coverings that scene. Because we do see it in some of the other shots. If this is the case where like there's that shot that was released earlier, Jonathan and Nancy are in the backseat looking at something behind them like they're being chased. So I think this is all part of the same sequence, and I don't know why Steve and Dustin were picking them up. Maybe Nancy couldn't get to her car for whatever reason. I don't know. But for other reasons, Steve and Dustin have picked them up. They're being chased by something, and he's just like, screw it, and he just floors it, and they wind up going through the upside down. And so Nancy has her gun, and they have their walkies with them, and that's it. Although, why they wouldn't have some kind of covering in the car, I don't know. But that would at least explain it. So yeah, I just kind of feel like it seems like, screw it, we're going for it at this point. Like, maybe they've tried before. Or he just realizes that they're heading towards a rift and there's nothing they can do. And he's like, all right, I'm just going to floor it. Because otherwise I feel like it would kind of go through the rift and you'd be kind of like stuck in the goo. Like you'd kind of be like hanging there. But I feel like if you gunned it, then you'd go through. But it's poor Bimmer, man. I mean, apparently they've attached like an antenna to the roof. It's taken off the side mirror. Like it's just, whew. That poor car is just going through it.
I know. I hope we don't have to say R.I.P. to the Beamer this season, but it seems like that's probably going to be the case. Is the side mirror is any indication of that? But like speaking of the lab, yeah, I do think that that's all part of this, and we do know that Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, and Dustin are in the upside down outside of the lab. To me, it just reminded me of the Krill house from season 4. Like that would seem to be like the central location of the upside down last season. And I wonder if the lab is going to be like that this season. And I think they're there for a particular reason. I wonder what that is. And I feel like because we know that the upside down is stuck in 1983, I wonder if they're they realize they have to go back to the lab on November 6th, 1983, to retrieve something that was only there during that time. Now what that is, I don't know. But yeah, I really am intrigued that it's these 4 specifically that are there. And also, like the Krill house from season 4, it seems like the storm is heavier here. So, I mean, could this be ironically Vecna's hideaway? I mean, wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah, it would be crazy. I mean, if he was right under their noses at the place it all started all along, that would be so crazy. And I feel like they might do something like Vecna was hiding in plain sight the whole time because they're thinking this guy's a criminal mastermind. Maybe they've overthought the whole thing and it turns out to be something really simple. I think this sequence is also part of that scene where we had the shot in the day announcement teaser where Steve and Dustin are looking up at something and it looks like they're in the lab and there's vines on the ground and Steve has his walkie with him. I've seen people speculate on Discord that this could also be the same sequence where we see Jonathan and Nancy crying and they're like talking somewhere. Because I've seen people point out that this looks like the Upside Down, but you don't see the particles like you normally do. And I've seen people speculate, okay, well, they're outside the lab, they go into the lab. If Steve and Dustin go off to do their part of the mission, Jonathan and Nancy go off to do their part of the mission, which could be a continuation of like whatever the heck they were doing when Steve picked them up. And that like, they're doing their part and they've completed whatever they had to do. And then they're waiting for Steve and Dustin to radio them to say, hey, we did our part. And that gives them a moment to talk about whatever they're talking about here. And that hadn't occurred to me until I saw that because I was like, this is the Upside Down. It's a weird place to have a conversation. They're not wearing any facial coverings. But if this part of that sequence, that would explain a lot. And I'm also curious if this is the same sequence, what the heck Steve and Dustin are looking at? Like, what's on the ceiling that they're like, guys? Like, their expressions give, oh no. Like, I don't think we're going to be able to do this. And I don't think it's a rift. It could be a rift, but I feel like you'd see the red glow if it was a rift. A rift would not produce that expression because they know what a rift looks like and they know to expect those. But there's got to be something going on that ceiling that they're like, guys? And I'm getting that vibe from a lot of this season. Like, a lot of the teaser stuff is giving the vibe of, we were expecting this. We prepared for all these possibilities. And then we got there and it looked nothing like that. And now we don't know what to do. I think this is all part of like this one long sequence. And it makes me want to go back and watch like the date announcement teaser and the behind the scenes teaser and like look at the old behind the scenes footage and see if we can find more of this scene. Because whatever this sequence is, I agree, it's got to be either it's a really cool sequence, either like they spend a lot of money and time on it, like maybe with the special effects, and or it's really important to the season. Like, it's a very pivotal sequence because we've gotten more shots of this, like photos, videos, behind the scenes, special effects, like everything, than I think any other sequence that we've gotten like so far.
Yeah, I mean, I also really loved that frame. And I mean, at first I thought it was like so beautiful because the way, to me, it looks almost like glass shattering almost, or like a huge bolt of like electricity, or maybe like water, like when reflections like with water and stuff. But yeah, it's like, what is this? Where does it come from? And if they are in the lab, why is it here in the lab? I'm really, really looking forward to what that's. I think that's, if I had to say like the biggest question I have from this teaser, it would be, what is this thing in the ceiling?
Yeah, I feel like those are the big questions. What is this thing in the ceiling, and what the heck are they there looking for? What are they looking to only find here? Because I feel like this was a planned mission, but it didn't go to plan. Like, they were obviously planning to go there at some point, but I don't think the plan was, hey, let's get chased by this thing and then have to drive into the Upside Down. I don't think that was the plan, but I think they were planning to go there at some point, either get something or do something at some point. And it obviously went awry. So yeah, I think those are the big questions. What's that thing in the ceiling, and what are they there to get or do?
And there's a frame in here of Lucas on the ground in the tunnels, and he looks absolutely, terrified. It looks like he may have fell or something. And at first thought there was like blood on his shirt, but I've also seen some speculation as to maybe this is like dirt. But, for this, I'm not going to speculate at all that he's not seeing something like a Demogorgon or, possibly someone being injured or whatever here, because in the season 4 trailer, when he's like looking up in what we know is the grill house and like screaming, I did not think that he was looking up at someone dying. And that's what it turned out to be. That was when Max was being levitated and stuff. And so I'm not going to speculate that he's not, because I was wrong that time, and I don't I don't want to be wrong this time. So, yeah, I mean, I hope nothing bad happens to him here.
Yeah, me neither. I hope he's okay. And I really thought this shot was cool because it's the one where they zero in on someone's eyeball and it becomes the tunnel, and then you see them running. And I remember Nell Fisher posted this and she was like, I'm like 90% sure that's my eyeball. Like, oh, I thought that was funny. I mean, you obviously film so much, you're kind of like, is that my eye? I don't know. But I thought the transition shot there from like someone's eye to the tunnels to them running. We know the tunnels are going to be a big part of it this season, but and obviously burning, the vines and things down there like they did in season 2. They said they were going to come back to a lot of stuff from season 2, so that's not surprising. But I thought that transition was just absolutely amazing, and I'm really excited because Stranger Things does transitions really well. Season 4 is some of my favorite transitions of the whole show. A lot of the ones that got to high school were so well done, and I'm really excited to see the ones this season. Like, I mean, where they go from the eyeball to the nose could be a real shot from the show, or it could just be something they edited together, for the teaser. But either way, I'm really excited for the transitions this season.
Yeah, same here. That's always a big reason I come back to Stranger Things, because since season 1, they've always just been really good about doing these transition shots, and I'm glad to see that they are also making a return this season, and to do a transition of my own here, and talking about one of the most talked about shots in this entire teaser is of 11 flying. I definitely was not expecting to see that. I think if there was anything that was probably the most unexpected in this teaser, it was that, because I was not expecting that. And I'm still kind of on the fence about it, but when I first saw it, I was like, oh, please don't do this. That's my first thought was, oh, please do not become Marvel. Please don't do this. But after I've rewatched it several times, and just going back to looking at the Demodogs and the Demogorgons, and I kind of realized, well, that's kind of how they jump. And so maybe that's their goal here, is to kind of tell us 11 has always had these abilities like this, and that when she made that psychic touch with the Demogorgon in season 1, that transferred over to it, and that's how it was able to do that. And so it's kind of grown on me a little bit, but I feel like it was mostly because the way that this was edited in this teaser kind of makes it look kind of weird, like she's like on some kind of jetpack, like when you watch it not in slow motion. But what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about it. I think that was one of the 2 parts out of this teaser I wasn't really a fan of. It looks kind of goofy in my opinion. At first I thought she just caught some air. Then I rewatched it, it's like, no, like she like stepped and then like jumps and then flies. So, because I thought, oh, maybe she's just projecting herself. We know she can throw things with her mind. Maybe she's just doing that to herself. But it's like, no, she's straight up like flying here, like intentionally, like over the bus. I'm not crazy about it, but I'm willing to give it a chance. I've seen some people post on social media that Brenner says to her in season 4 that in order to defeat Henry, she won't just need to walk or run, she'll need to fly. And that Mike says to her again in season 4 that you're a superhero, you can do anything, you can fly. And we all just kind of thought that was like metaphorical. But I've seen people point out that maybe it wasn't. That Mike meant it in a metaphorical way, but maybe Brenner didn't. That she's going to need to literally fly to be able to like battle these things in the end. I think it's interesting that this is at the junkyard because it appears to be from the same sequence we've gotten footage of before, where we see Joyce and Hopper there with her. And she's in this outfit, and I think this is them training. I think this is like a training exercise where she's like learning how to do this. Although clearly has advanced pretty far, because I don't think they would have started with fling yourself over a bus. That seems kind of dangerous as a first attempt. So I think this is maybe part of a sequence where they're showing us training montage where she's, been working up to this, and then she finally achieves liftoff and she's able to like project herself over this bus. And I'm sure they've got like a mat or something on the other side. But I'm also curious, like, is no one else noticing that this kid's just like flinging herself over a bus? Like, I know it's a junkyard, and I know they use it as kind of like a hideout place, but like, the military went looking there for Mike and the rest of the gang in season 1. So I guess it depends if notes were taken before those people died or Brenner took notes on that. Because if they did, they would know about the junkyard, or if they didn't, they might not. But also, I mean, the military's barely taken over this town. It was just kind of like that. No one's noticed that, like, this girl they're looking for, the dead chief of police, are hanging out there, and she's flinging herself over the bus. Like, that not be visible when she caught some air? I don't know. It might just be one of those suspend your disbelief type things, but I just kind of had that thought of the military that's been looking for her for over a year. Didn't notice she just caught air over that bus. Nobody saw that.
No, it's just like they apparently have no idea that radio station or that radio tower even exists either.
Yeah, it's like this stuff is like the tallest stuff in town, and they apparently have no idea. That radio tower looks tall. And based on the fact that everyone's wearing the t-shirts, that makes me think that, first I thought they were volunteering there, but I wonder if they've like started working there, or they've taken over running this radio station because whoever was doing it before either died or evacuated. But apparently this place has like a plethora of t-shirts going around that just magically fit all of them, that they're all wearing constantly. Like, that's the thing I'm like, okay, the military's looking for her, right? But they're wearing the t-shirts that have the logo out in public constantly. And not a single person was like, they're wearing these t-shirts. You think maybe we should check the radio station? Like, doesn't that seem kind of dangerous to you?
I know. It's like, you could have saved yourself a lot of trouble if you just gone there.
Yeah, and like, I hope there's an explanation for that. Because, like, obviously I would have been questioned about her whereabouts. They obviously know that these are her known associates. So, like, that would be on file. And it's like, the radio station is tall. They're clearly working and spending a lot of time there. And again, she's, flinging herself over buses. That would be visible, I'm sure, from some vantage point. But apparently they've been using this as a training location for quite some time, and nobody caught on. Unless, of course, maybe the whole thing is that people are reporting this back, and maybe the Lieutenant Akers character is on their side and just hasn't been reporting it to Dr. K. I could maybe see something like that where they do know, and it's not getting back to the big cheese because someone's running interference. And that would be interesting from a character standpoint. So it'd be cool if that was it. I hope there's something like that, because otherwise it's like, how would you not notice? This stuff is tall. You'd be able to see it from the air. There are obviously guard towers here. We can see guard towers in this footage. Oh, I hope there's an explanation here, because otherwise you have to suspend your disbelief quite heavily. And they didn't need to get them to dress in the t-shirts. Like, they could have had just one character would not have been suspicious, but multiple characters is kind of suspicious.
And about what Hopper says to 11 kind of towards the end of the teaser, he tells her, "Where this blood leads, I need you to follow it, and let's end this one last time, kid." And in the clip, 11 is actually wearing what looks to be like a helmet, as though like she's going into some sort of sensory deprivation tank here. I feel like this clip is more than likely from either episode 5 or episode 6, because we know from Ross Duffers that like all the clips in this teaser were from either episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, because he said there's nothing from 7. So I feel like it takes place pretty later on in the season. So I would dare say there were 5 or 6. But Jasmin, what do you think kind of is going on here in this frame?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too, because I don't know, like, how she's able to follow a blood trail through void. We've never seen her do that before, but clearly it must be possible if they're doing it. And clearly they've picked up some kind of clue or some kind of thing where, she's got to follow this to its endpoint. And obviously she doesn't want to, and Hopper doesn't want her to have to do it, but it's their only option. And we talked about this off camera, but something I loved about this teaser is you can really see the difference when it comes to the way Elle is treated, someone that loves her and someone that uses her. Like the way that Brenner and Owens and the military approach stuff like this with her versus the way Hopper does. is very different, right? You see those scenes with Elle in the wetsuit and her and Mike talking and Hopper, saying to her, like, we got to finish this kid. He obviously doesn't want her to have to do this, but they have no choice. And there's just such a difference there. And I think that parallel was very intentional, where Berto just kept pushing her until basically the Demogorgon was unleashed and he just couldn't stop searching for Henry, even though he knew what he was capable of, and that led to all of this. And, he convinced Owens that, oh, we gotta do this to get her powers back. And the military's convinced, well, if we kill her, they'll just solve all our problems. Like, they just keep pushing and poking stuff they shouldn't be. Whereas with Joyce and Hopper, these are clearly people that love and care for her, and that you don't want her to have to do this, but they have to. And you get that voiceover of, like, I need you to fight one last time. We see Will going down again. And so I'm very much getting the vibe that obviously they don't want Elle and Will to have to do these things, to have to fight, to have to do this, but this is the only option. They've exhausted everything else. There's no other option at this point. It's clearly painful for them. They clearly don't want to, and they don't want them to have to, but they have to find a way to do this. And I think that that's a big part of Elle expanding her powers, is being able to do this with people who aren't trying to hurt her, who just want her to develop this, not so they can, like, I don't know, defeat the Russians or explore the world. They're not doing this for some, like, hidden agenda. They just literally want her to get stronger so that they can defeat the bad guy and have a normal-ish type life. So that really struck me. Even just the wetsuit, like, she finally has a proper wetsuit. They got her a proper wetsuit, making sure that she's comfortable, as much as she can be. So that really struck me there. And yeah, I don't know how she's able to follow a blood trail, or maybe the blood trail is Vecna's blood trail, or maybe the blood trail is from the Demogorgons or Demodogs or some other monster, and then maybe they think it's going to lead back to the source or to Vecna somehow. Whatever it is, I'm guessing she either just gets there in time and then Vecna bursts through on the other end, or she doesn't make it in time, because we see that sequence of Vecna at the end where he's like, found you. And we know this is only up like episodes 1 through 6. So apparently Vecna, I'm guessing he pops out right at the end there. I'm guessing that's like a brief moment from 6. Because I don't think they do that reveal any sooner. Something I just noticed while replaying this is in that, what I think is part of this sequence where Joyce is there and it looks like Will's on the ground, his like foot is moving. He's like writhing on the ground. So I think he is having some kind of like Vecna-induced seizure over here. And when you slow it down, like, Mike is in front of Melvid's in the downtown. There's rubble behind them. Those extra kids are behind them. And that seemed to be part of like the military base. Or maybe the military base is in downtown, because this looks like it's part of the same sequence. And then again, like, it looks like Vecna is coming through. We don't know if he's coming at them at the downtown or at the base or where this is, or if that's all part of downtown. I'm just so curious about, like, is this all downtown? What is this sequence of events? What is this blood trail? How is she able to follow it?
Yeah, I think they're all part of the same sequence too, because we see Mike in that frame and behind him is Melvald's. And then when we see, like, our first actual shot of Vecna, with his back turned to us, we see a sign for John's. It's John's, then the Radio Shack, and then Melvald's. So I think this is all part of the same sequence and that they're all downtown. But speaking of Vecna, like, wow, one of the things, I know I talked to you about this, but one of the things I was, after season 4, was just thinking, like, will season 5 be just as intense, just as scary as season 4? And I feel like it's definitely going to be, just from Vecna's new look alone. I mean, this guy, he definitely no longer looks even human. And like his hand, like his left hand, looks bigger than it did last season. And he's got like these horns all over his back now. And not only that, but apparently he can now deflect fire. At first I thought he was shooting the fire, but if you look at it again in slow motion, he's not. Maybe the military personnel is trying to burn him, but he's deflecting them. And so, yeah, I mean, I kind of was expecting for them to show us him, but, I definitely wasn't expecting it to be like that, because season 4's trailer, we got a full like view of him, and this time we didn't. So I think there's obviously something going on with his face, or at least the left side of his face. But yeah, just the chilling, found you. So definitely telling us, like, yeah, he's been, as much as they've been looking for him, he's apparently been looking for them too. And I think this could be a little bit later on in the season. But yeah, overall, like, just this teaser trailer. I mean, this is a teaser trailer too, by the way. It's not the trailer. All around, just like hands down one of the best trailers I think I've ever seen, period. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Stranger Things fan. It's the way it was shot and edited, outside of really, to me, that scene of 11, which I thought was kind of awkwardly done. But other than that, I mean, everything was just hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, it's an amazing teaser. And now that I've slowed down that shot, you can see John's to the left, and you can see Melved's to the right. So they're definitely downtown. And I think it might be either Joyce or Mike holding the flamethrower here, because in the previous shots we've seen, the military personnel in this teaser and in the date announcement one, the military personnel around them are like on the ground, either dead or unconscious. And you can see them in the back of the shot when Joyce is leaning over Will. And so my feeling here is that these guys have tried to take on Vecna, whatever other monsters were there. They got taken out immediately because they're dumb. They don't know what they're doing. And that our heroes basically have to step up and save the day. They established in season 4 that nothing what the military does is going to be effective. So we knew that going in. So I think that maybe this is like a flamethrower that like one of them has dropped, and we see Mike try to protect the other kids. So either Mike or Joyce, I think, has picked this thing up and they're like charging at him with the flamethrower, and they're like probably shocked when he like deflects it. They're like, "Well, this worked last time." So they take the flamethrower and then he's just like deflecting it, and they're like, "Okay, now what do we do?" I feel like that might be the closing shot for 6, because that would be a good cliffhanger to leave it on, right, for like the next episode, to be like, and he can now deflect fire. That was their big thing, and we know shooting him doesn't take him out. Doesn't kill him. We know it hurts him, doesn't kill him. So we can't use bullets. Bullets only work temporarily, and now fire apparently only works temporarily. How do you kill something that can deflect fire and is hurt by bullets and fire, but isn't permanently killed by them? What do you do with that? And how do you fight that? So I think this military base must be downtown, because I think this is part of the same sequence we've been seeing, where maybe they're trying to pass through this base to get to wherever they're going, or they're downtown doing something and then all the other guys get taken out and they've got to take him on by themselves, which is absolutely wild. I was picturing these bases on like the outskirts of town, but if they've got one downtown, that is absolutely wild.
Yeah, could you like imagine, like, if this is the first time that either Mike and Joyce have ever seen Vecna, like how crazy that is? I mean, I can imagine the thoughts that are going through their heads.
Yeah, and I'm definitely picturing a scene where they get back to the radio station and Mike running up to Nancy and being like, "That is not what Vecna looks like. You said he looked like this. He does not look like that. This is what he looks like." Like, and either being mad and be like, "Are you blind?" Or like, "Are you sure he looked like that?" And she's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay, well, he got a new look. Okay? He has horns now." And then somebody making the horny joke and it being like, "God damn it." And everybody laughing and being like, "Hey, what do we do? He can deflect fire now. He looks like this and he deflects fire. This is not what we trained for. What do we do? What do we do, guys?" Plus, I feel like at that point, Will's out of commission. Max is still out of commission. So they gotta like look after those guys while like also trying to like keep all this stuff at bay, which I feel like will be part of the juggling act in this season, which was a big part of season 2 when it came to Will. So I could definitely see them coming back to that in terms of the plot.
Yeah, it definitely will be very interesting to see how on earth they get out of this situation that's happening in this sequence, because 11's not there either. And if fire's not going to work, I guess maybe just running for their lives may do it. It'll be very interesting for sure to see how on earth they escape this.
Yeah, seeing how our heroes escape and get back to safety and ultimately kill Vecna in the end, I think is going to be super interesting, because I feel like they're setting up a lot of scenarios here that are very tricky and hard to get out of. And the challenge will be watching them try to figure that out. And, this is a guy so powerful that he can just take out, the whole US military in a fell swoop. I mean, we knew that. Like, we saw him take out, a lab full of people and children multiple times. So we knew that, but it seems like he's gotten even more advanced here, so that's got to be a big challenge for our heroes is, okay, let's find the guy. And apparently, according to this, he finds them. So that's not great. And then they got to figure out how to, I guess, maybe find him again, kill this guy, and defeat all this stuff when he's apparently invincible at this point and is developing all these new things. And he's so powerful, he can take out anybody he wants. And yeah, that's clearly going to be their challenge in season 5.
And that's our show. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe and tell your friends. Our theme music is provided by Neon Knights. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ham Radio, a Stranger Things podcast. Please join us next time, same dial, same time.
Over and out.